Testing.
Welcome to the Tea Podcast, bringing you the best in news, entertainment, celebrity gossip, social commentary, humor, and LGBTQ lifestyle. This podcast is part of the UrbanWire Media Network, where we shine the light on issues impacting the urban community. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher.
For any occasion, whether it be for an anniversary, birthday, special event, etc., C's Treats has you covered. C's Treats LLC uses the most freshest items and the best chocolates, caramels, and products in the world. Every bite of C's Treats will leave you wanting more. She's located on the west side of Indianapolis, and you can connect with her on social media. She's on Facebook and she's on Instagram. Reach out to her via email at cstreets38@gmail.com, or you can contact her at 317-664-2609.
Hey, I have a question for you. Are you too busy to keep your chores done? Well, leave it to Crystal Clean. Crystal will help you keep your place clean, balanced, and in tip-top shape. Crystal will arrive fully equipped with her own cleaning supplies, positive energy, and ability to work some beautiful magic into your life. Keep your home your sanctuary and take away some of that stress and worry. You can message her or text her directly to schedule a service at 317-603-5897. Crystal is now specializing in residential and office cleanings, and she's also now servicing Central Indiana, Hamilton County, and Greater Indianapolis. Check her out today.
All right, y'all. We are back with another edition of the T broadcast, brought to you by the UrbanWire Media Network, where we shine a light on issues impacting the urban community. Now, I know we've been on a hiatus for a little bit. It's been a lot going on, a lot of good things going on. Finally are moved into our new place. So, we're able to get back into the swing of things. I tell you, this has been one heck of a morning and afternoon. Like I got a story for you in a little bit of something that just took place right before we got on air. Like, as you can see in my background, I have my fish aquarium. I don't think you can really see it, but one of my fish got stuck like in one of my vases. So we had to like crack like one of the vases in half so he can get free. Like my Florida guard back there, he got stuck, but we were able to rescue him. But like, my Florida guard, I've had him for almost 10 years and he's outlived all my other fish. So we were able to get him rescued. He's a little stressed right now, but he's swimming around. So I think he'll be fine. Yeah. So that's just our little story for today. I was like, oh my God, this is a horrible time for this to happen. But we were able to get him loosen up and get him situated. So I'm going to jump to our panel. As always, I have my partner in crime and partner in love, Jonathan Crockett. And over here, we have Miss Ethan Cripps.
Yeah.
So what have you guys been up to? I know I was just telling them about our new endeavor as far as our adventure in home ownership.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's
been one wild ride.
Yes.
It's been a fun wild ride.
Yeah. So Ethan, what have you been up to lately?
Mostly working, traveling a lot for work lately, which has been really good. Visiting a lot of places, also traveling with y'all.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some fun adventures on this break that we've taken from this podcast. So I've been very fortunate to share in the adventures with you guys. So, yay!
Yes, Atlanta was very fun.
Yeah.
I'm so glad all of us went. I wish someone else could go with us.
And speaking of someone else, we have one of our old veterans, Philip. He's in the background. He's just listening today, singing in the background. He's in our audience today. So we want to thank him for coming in and supporting us.
Yes.
Let me get through some housekeeping things really quick before we jump into our broadcast. Some of the things that we're going to talk about, we have some really good topics, but I want to remind you guys that you can support our broadcast via CashApp at $UrbanWire, which that's on the screen. We have a lot of things that we're trying to do in the future, so we would definitely appreciate your support. I am going to be launching UrbanWire Media Talk Radio, so we're going to be working on that towards the end of the year, going into next year. So I got things in the works for that. Also, I'm trying to think what else we have going on. Yeah, you can follow us on our Facebook group page. Just look us up under the UrbanWire Media Network, and that should pull that right on up. And that way you can keep up, in the loop with what's going on as far as like new shows that are coming out, videos, everything that we have going on with the UrbanWire Media Network. And then you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/UCOFW. And also you can listen to our podcast on demand after I, edit everything down. Like this episode should be available by Monday. You can check us out on Spotify, Twitter, Google Podcasts, Apple Music. I'm trying to think where else, like Pandora. We're on all the major podcast networks. So definitely support us. Just look us up under the UrbanWire Media Network. And I think that's it as far as the housekeeping things are concerned. So we're going to jump right into what we're going to talk about tonight. We have a lot of juicy topics. There's a lot going on in the world of entertainment, politics, and just social commentary. One of the stories that we're going to jump into tonight is dealing with Oshae Sibley. He was the young man that was brutally attacked in Brooklyn, New York. It was a hate crime, and we're going to get into the details of that and how Beyonce paid tribute to him Also, we're going to talk about the whole entire Lizzo debacle, and she currently has 3 ex-dancers or employees that was working for her that are coming out saying that it was a hostile work environment, and they were accusing her of sexual misconduct and sexual harassment. So we're going to delve into that. Michigan just passed a hate crime legislation where one of the provisions is like there's protection over people misgendering people or using the wrong pronoun. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to see, well, is this law really kind of like out there? I mean, is it over the top? We're going to get into that. Also, there's a pastor in Detroit. While we're in Michigan, we're going to talk about a pastor in Detroit, Albert Weathers. He was found, he pleaded guilty for a hate crime. Well, he killed a transgender prostitute up there, and he is now pleading guilty for this crime 4 years later. So we're going to delve into that. If you guys have been following the news, you've probably been hearing about Carlee Russel. She was the nursing student that was involved in a hoax where she pretty much got everyone in a tizzy. They thought that she was missing, and it was all a hoax. So she's now being charged for that. We're going to delve into that. Also, we're going to talk about hate crime bills. Not hate crime bills, but bills passed this year that attack the LGBTQIA. You'll be surprised how many bills that are being passed that are attacking our community, and we need to kind of discuss what can we as voters do to combat this issue. And we're going to have a whole lot more issues too. Like, I mean, we have a lot of topics that we're going to discuss today, and then in our second half of the show, we're going to discuss a couple things. Like, one of the main topics I want to talk about in the second half of the show, which will probably be re-aired later on this month, we're going to talk about allies. Now, we've talked about this show on our show before earlier on when we first started the podcast, but I want to revisit this topic as it relates to do we really have allies as far as the LGBT community is concerned, or do we have a lot of opportunities these days? So we're going to delve into that conversation because I think that we need to kind of make sure we understand the difference between what a true ally is versus someone that's just trying to ride the coattails of the gay community. And also, I feel like our community can be opportunists too sometimes. So we're going to delve into that. We're going to have that difficult conversation. So with that being said, before I jump into my topics, I want to see, did you guys see anything in the news that you would like to discuss?
Oh my God, there's so much.
Yes.
I don't even know where to start.
Yes.
Ethan, you want to go first?
Well, I was just, I don't know. I was, the aliens. We can talk about that.
Not today.
Nano.
My biggest thing, and like one of the things that I saw on TikTok recently, you know, they had to hold a whole hearing to validate that, you know, UFOs are real and aliens are real and it's official now and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but, you know, instead of focusing on that, because I really don't think, as far as I see on social media, that the public doesn't really care so much as about, you know, just, you know, us deciding or holding a whole hearing for that, spending money on that to hold a hearing for it, our tax dollars, whatever, rather than focusing on real issues, putting money towards actually helping the American people, making real change. And like, you know, well, why don't we, one of the things that I saw on TikTok that was like, that's all good and fine, but when are we going to put an age limit on members of Congress? That was a bit, I laughed.
I was thinking, like, when are we going to start, like, really investigating Jeffrey Epstein?
Yeah.
Oh my God, today.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Speaking of that, did you guys? I know this is kind of off topic, but did you guys hear? I didn't know that Kevin Spacey, they acquitted him.
Oh yeah, that's
yeah. That was kind of like fascinating. But do you think with him being acquitted, do you think that they'll allow him back into Hollywood? Because there's a lot of stuff going on in Hollywood right now.
I mean, I guess it would depend on what really would accept him at this point, because based, from all of that going on with it, like I feel like that's damaged his.
Yeah, he's
severely damaged his.
Yeah, he's lost
career.
a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that he's persona non grata at this point,
especially with his reputation with the gay community as well. Like
even though he was found not guilty by his peers, I think that he's pretty well toast at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's really unfortunate too, because he's a great actor. Yeah. He's probably done some questionable things, of course, we all have. But I don't know. I think time's going to tell at this point.
Yeah, you can't. Once you screwed, you can't get unscrewed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it in another way, but we have to keep this PG-13. So, like we're gonna jump into our first story today. For those of you that have been following this story, this took place in Brooklyn. There was a young man. He was actually a professional dancer by the name of Oshae Sibley. He was brutally attacked when he and his friends were after a night of partying and stuff. They were right at the gas station and they were kind of just having fun. He was voguing to actually one of Beyonce's songs or on her recent album, and that's why she paid tribute to him. But we're gonna get to that. But yeah, there was like this 17-year-old Muslim kid. I don't even call him a kid because you're 17 years old, and if you're that old to if you can do the crime, you should be able to do the time.
Like, no,
wait, you're talking about the person who stabbed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was a 17-year-old kid, and they said that he was Muslim, so he was like pretty much extremist. And they were saying that the Brooklyn police, they know who the person of interest is. They know who the person is, but he's still.
Actually, this is kind of breaking news.
Really?
Yeah. This is from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. A suspect in the deadly stabbing of Oshae Sibley during the confrontation of a New York City gas station has turned himself into police, according to law enforcement sources.
All right, that's good news to hear. Well, we're going to go to a couple clips so everybody can get some context about what took place. And then when we come back, we'll further discuss this, and then we'll move on to our next story.
The urgent manhunt for the killer of a professional dancer in Brooklyn. Police are searching for a suspect they believe was captured on video stabbing Oshae Sibley, who had been dancing to Beyonce's music and what authorities say they suspected LGBTQ hate crime. Eva Pilgrim is here with more. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, guys. Oshae Sibley's friend saying his murder was an attack on his very existence. He was simply, as you mentioned, dancing to Beyonce, and Queen Bee speaking out about his death, her music, and now public statements elevating stars and regular people in the LGBTQ+ community now in mourning.
This morning, the LGBTQ+ community, family, and friends honoring Oshae Sibley, a professional dancer brutally murdered for dancing at a Brooklyn gas station.
Oshae, he was so loving, so kind, such a vibrant spirit.
Sibley's friends say he was voguing, a unique dance birthed in 80s Harlem ballroom culture.
Voguing is a repetition of fashion poses, basically. That's how it started.
According to his friend, Sibley was voguing to Beyonce's Grammy-winning album, Renaissance. The superstar, learning of his death, posting a tribute on her website. Rest in power, Oshae Sibley. Sibley was a dancer and choreographer who performed at Lincoln Center. He danced as part of an all-queer dance group, as well as at Alvin Ailey and the Philadelphia Dance Company.
He was just spectacular to see move on stage, and he always made us, everyone in the room, feel confident like we could do it.
Sibley's murder happening the same night of Beyonce's much anticipated New York stop on her Renaissance tour.
Welcome to the Renaissance.
Her tour sparking celebrations not just in New York, but around the world. The Platinum album widely applauded for highlighting the cultural contributions of the LGBTQ community and connecting Beyonce to her LGBTQ+ fans in a new way. Drag performer Kevin Aviance, one of the artists Queen Bee showcased when she sampled him on Pure Honey.
That's my technique. That's my.
I passed out. And then when I listened to it again, it didn't dawn on me that she was just using my performance. That right there was the game changer for me.
Beyonce's music resonating with Aviance and countless others, including Oshae Sibley.
Sibley is the 5th LGBTQ person killed in recent weeks. GLAAD responding to his death, saying Sibley's shocking murder follows a disturbing rise in violence and harassment against LGBTQ people across the U.S. This cannot continue. No one should have to fear for their safety just for being themselves. And of course, this is still an ongoing investigation.
Yeah, and our thoughts are with his family and his friends. Thank you so much for that, Eva. Really appreciate it.
Are on the hunt for a suspect in a gas station murder that they say may have been a hate crime. CBS News' Elijah Westbrook has more now from Midwood, Brooklyn.
This clear surveillance video should help investigators make an arrest. It shows a group of people dancing here at this mobile gas station Saturday night when a man walks up to them and allegedly makes homophobic comments. Police say an argument ensues, leading to a deadly stabbing of 28-year-old Sibley Oshae.
He pulled out a knife and he just stabbed him and he ran away.
This man, who didn't want to be on camera, tells us he tried to break up the fight.
I told him, you have to leave, don't fight.
This deadly stabbing happened outside this gas station on Coney Island Avenue and Avenue P at around 11:15 Saturday night.
I said, what happened? Then my friend was so shocked. He was like, he couldn't even talk first. I came over to check. They said, like, back off, there's someone dead.
Delivery worker Zafar Safaro was working Saturday night at the gas station. Those pumping their gas here and Safaro say this is normally a safe area, but now Safaro is proceeding with caution.
Oshae's close friend tells us that they were coming back from a birthday celebration that night before ending up here at the gas station. He also tells us that Oshae was part of the ballroom community, predominantly comprised of LGBTQ+ men of color.
He was just a fun, loving, beautiful person, like energetic. He's very protective of his family. Like all he promoted was just love. This circumstance is like ridiculous. Like he wasn't a part of no gangs. Like he was out here, it was a night of fun.
The NYPD's Hate Crime Task Force says it is continuing to investigate this matter. In Midwood, Brooklyn, Elijah Westbrook, CBS 2 News.
All right, we're back. This is just a very unfortunate and sad situation. It goes to show you, like, even in progressive states, like such as New York and bigger cities, like even in 2023, we're still not safe as a community, and we definitely need to bring awareness to this situation. And I feel like we as the LGBTQIA community, we need to do more. As far as like we argue and bicker amongst each other about all this silly stuff as far as like well, you misgendered me, or how, we argue about so much stuff, but we have real life and death situations like this where we're still being attacked and brutally murdered out here in these streets. And I just feel like we as a community, we have a lot of power, and instead of like bickering and arguing about trivial things, we need to bring awareness to things like this, because this stuff is still happening, and you can't say, well, it's the older generation that's like this. This boy was 17 years old. Like, this is not like
Gen Z.
Yeah, Gen Z. So the hatred and the bigotry is not going anywhere. So we have to definitely bring awareness to what's going on. We have to speak out against this, and we have to push these legislators to pass these hate crime bills, and not only pass them, but enforce them. Because I feel like with this guy brutally attacking Oshae Sibley, he shouldn't even been out on the streets as long as he has been. So I just feel like with our community, they move slower to react to things like this. And we're going to talk about a story later on where a trans woman was killed by this pastor, and she's just now getting justice, which I don't even think is much of a justice because it's only 10 years that he's going to possibly get. But it's 4 years later, and her family is just now getting justice. So I feel like we need to stay on these legislators' necks about this. We need to make sure not only they're passing legislation to protect our community, but making sure they enforce the legislation. So I didn't know what you guys think about this situation.
You go first.
Okay. I know you started watching this with me on HBO Max, a documentary called Last Call. It's really good. I just finished it yesterday. And it's a documentary about these out gay men and closeted gay men who were being murdered, and not just, stabbed or a bullet to the head. No, they were being dismembered and their bodies were being, strewn about in like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, New York, wherever. And this was all in the early 90s during the height of the AIDS crisis. And it just makes me think about that, where there are, and it's just not those 4 gay men. It's like all sorts of, lesbians, trans, what have you. And it still takes courage to be who you are in this society.
It just still shocks me to my core that in this day and age, in this time, like this is 2023, and we're very quickly approaching 2024, and there is still homophobia, there's still murder, there's still and not even just in our community, there's sexism and transphobia, all this stuff that's still going on to this day. And then people in our Congress and in our government that just do not care what is happening to these people because of their own self-interest. Oh, I've lost my train of thought. But one of the biggest things that I lost my train of thought. It's not.
It happens.
It happens. But it's not. Oh, what I was going to say is it's not just in in this particular situation, it's not just the victim. It's like the person who committed this act. Now that he's turned himself in, he made this decision to murder this person because he didn't even know this person, and he hated this person so much for what they were doing, who they were. He decided to murder this person, and now it's ruined his life. His life is ruined now because now he's going to prison, and he's going to he died probably because he murdered somebody. So.
I think a difficult conversation we need to have too is like, and I know you want to avoid this because you want to be politically correct, but do you think that these religious groups such as Muslims, you think they should come out against these extremist pockets of, I don't know, like within their religion? Do you think that they should come out and stand against this?
Some of them have.
Oh, wow.
There are, at least from what I remember in the past, extremist Muslims and there are more moderate Muslims. And it's like the extremist voices try to overpower the moderate voices. And this is definitely after 9/11, where a lot of the moderate voices were trying to, speak more about, love, peace, acceptance, this, that, and the other. Right. And the extremist parts of the Islamic Muslim faith was just being drowned out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this takes time. It's not going to be fixed anytime soon. It's going to take. It might take a few generations, and we all may be gone by the time things start to get better.
Well, what's shocking also is like the Muslim and Islamic faith was founded on peace and nonviolence, and acceptance and things, so when you have extremists and terrorists and people who commit these heinous crimes in the name of the Muslim faith is disturbing.
But it's no different than Christianity, because we've seen what they've done with Christianity. They've used it as a tool to denigrate. They've used it as a tool to marginalize other groups of people, women. They've used it, obviously, here in America. They used it to justify slavery, racism, genocide, all of that. And it really takes the people within these communities or these parishioners or people of faith to come out and say, hey, we condemn these actions. Regardless of how you feel about someone living their truth or living the LGBT lifestyle, that does not give you the right to take someone else's life. Like what happened to thou shalt not kill? Or, we're sitting up here judging people, and then half the people that are doing this, it always comes out 99% of the time that these people have feelings of, they're dealing with same-sex attraction. So we really have to look into this, and we have to speak out as people, as a group of people, because this is just sad that this young man's life was taken for him living in his truth. It's not like they were bothering anybody. They weren't doing anything lewd or lascivious or whatever you want to say. They were just living their truth and having a good time. And for this man to attack him, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy is sexually suppressed. You know what I mean? And it's just,
I thought that.
Yeah. So, it's just a sad situation. But we're going to move on to our next story. Our next story is dealing with Lizzo. Now, for those of you that have been following this case, Lizzo has 3 former dancers or employees that were working with her on her tour. They are now coming out and filing a lawsuit against her, alleging that there were instances of sexual harassment and just a toxic work environment. And we're going to delve into this conversation a little bit. We're going to go to a clip involving this. And then when we come back, we're going to discuss this in detail, because I have some opinions about this. I really kind of think that it could be just some disgruntled employees too. But I'm going to let you guys be the judge of this. We're going to go to a news clip so we can get some context to this, and then we'll come back with the rest of our commentary.
Her silence over accusations of sexual harassment and a hostile work environment, the singer is denying the claims of 3 of her former dancers. And Kelly Carter spoke with the accusers, and she joins us now with more. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Rebecca. On Thursday morning, I sat down with the 3 Lizzo accusers and their attorney, and they gave more information about what they say was a hostile work environment while on tour with the pop star.
You can see a public figure, and all you know about them is what they present to you when the cameras are on and the cameras are rolling.
This morning, Lizzo's accusers speaking out and reacting to the Grammy winner's response to the lawsuit she's facing. Don't text me, tell it straight to my face. The Truth Hurts singer writing on Instagram, these sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. How do you guys respond to that?
Like our experience and our pain, and not just us 3, but for the many women that have, because it's mainly women that have come forward and said they felt the same or have shared their stories with us because they don't want to publicly share it yet. It completely kind of invalidates all of our experience and our trauma and our pain.
Lizzo went on to write, I know what it feels like to be body shamed on a daily basis and would absolutely never criticize or terminate an employee because of their weight. Lizzo also said, there is nothing I take more seriously than the respect we deserve as women in the world. What is your response to that?
I honestly just find it kind of sad that even with us bringing forth and shining light and speaking up on all the things that we were feeling, instead of being met with at least acknowledgement of our feelings, when her brand is to preach about women empowerment.
Former dancers Ariana Davis, Crystal Williams, and Noelle Rodriguez accused Lizzo of creating a hostile work environment, weight shaming them, and pressuring them to participate in parties with overly sexual atmospheres. In a statement to ABC News, attorney Marty Singer writing in part, the lawsuit filed by the three dancers against Lizzo and the other defendants is specious and without merit. He also provided video to ABC News, which appears to show plaintiff Ariana Davis filmed in April after the time these events allegedly occurred, praising her former employer.
I look up to her so much, and I just want to follow in her footsteps, and I just want to share that with the Queen Lizzo herself.
Davis says now,
our jobs are always being threatened. I personally never had job security in this whole entire time. I was being booked for these one-off shows, and all of a sudden, I wasn't. And then I was replaced with another dancer who was smaller.
One question, how may these allegations impact Lizzo's brand?
For these allegations to come out now, it goes against almost everything that she has publicly and very adamantly stood up for and stood against. And I think it's confusing for a lot of her fans.
And though the pop star still has about 13 million Instagram followers, we should note that she has lost about 200,000 followers since the news of the lawsuit first broke earlier this week. Rebecca?
And it raises some really big questions. A fascinating conversation with you there, Kelly. And we know that you will have much more of that coming up with the former dancers today on GMA3. Eva Pilgrim will be there. Thank you, Kelly.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on,
right,
click the
guys,
subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Well, as you guys heard, that was the side of the dancers, and they kind of broke it down to what was taking place. There's so much to unpack with this situation. I feel like fame it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing, but then there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. I feel like a lot of times you have opportunists or people that will work with you because of your name. And then when things don't go their way, that's when you begin to get attacked. They'll start trying to come after your bag. And I kind of feel like at this point, I don't want to speak too much on the situation because it's early on in the conversation, but I kind of feel that there may be some clout chasing going on here because a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. Like, why would Lizzo fat shame like her dancers when that's what her platform's built upon? It doesn't make sense to me. It's something else to this story, and I feel like, I'm not going to say that Lizzo didn't have any wrongdoing in this situation, but something's telling me after the discovery process takes effect, I think there's going to be more that comes out about this because it's just something about this is not adding up. Now, if she did this stuff, then she needs to be held accountable for this. But I just don't feel that there's something that's just missing with this situation. And that's why I feel like you have to draw that line in the sand when it comes to dealing with people on a professional level. You can never mix business with pleasure because this is the type of thing that happens. Because from what I'm hearing, that they were all going to the strip club or whatever, they're all drunk and this, that, and the other. And when you mix alcohol and business together, even on like a regular everyday job, it's just not a good thing to even patronize and fraternize with your employees, because this is the kind of thing that can happen. So I don't know. What do you guys feel about this situation? Jonathan, I'll start with you.
So I read this from Vox.com yesterday, and I'm going to highlight 2 points. I'm going to read directly from this article. This lawsuit underscores the poor working conditions in the music industry and the lack of accountability that exists for such abuses. Long hours, difficult physical labor, and short-term contracts are common, while institutional oversight of an individual artist isn't always present. Other artists, including Cher and Britney Spears, have been sued by their employees in the past for alleged discrimination and battery, respectively. For example, Cher's case was dismissed and Spears settled her case. And the other point is the suit is also renewing discussions among pop culture observers online about the need for stars to be held responsible for bad behavior and the disparity that continues to exist on that front. Like anyone fielding such allegations, Lizzo should face the legal process and potential consequences for any harm she's caused. But she's also likely to get more blowback for such a lawsuit than a white male star like Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp, who have both fielded allegations of abuse and denied them, would do to the sexism, racism, and fat phobia that she has to deal with. So, just like with anything else, I think there's going to be a lot of hypocrites.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people are, like you said, clout chasing, and there's a lot of opportunists out there. And I really think that everything's just going to come out in the wash. I think it's just too soon.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's too much coincidence, like when they were saying, like, oh, well, I'm dancing with her and then all of a sudden I'm replaced and they just happen to be a smaller size. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're fat shaming the other person. That means that, maybe this person is, maybe a better dancer. They're more seasoned. They're willing to take, maybe like a lower pay or something. There are so many reasons why this one or two dancers are being replaced by somebody that just happen to look different than they do. So like the fact that they're using that as like to justify fat shaming, I don't think that's right.
And did Lizzo, now minus the, going out to the strip clubs, the bars and whatnot, but did Lizzo actively make a lot of these decisions if she is replacing dancers and stuff like that?
Yeah, right. That's a good point, because a lot of times, I mean, even though they do have the ultimate say in what goes on, like, they hire people that make these difficult decisions sometimes. So who knows? Like you said, there's so many unanswered questions, and it's still early on. So we'll just have to continue to follow this, and then we'll just,
And there are also a lot of people advising her too, like you're saying, like, agents, managers, all these people who are around her who are helping her make these decisions. So,
Oh, okay. I want to take a quick pause and give a shout out to a couple people. I guess it was an anonymous user, but they just wanted to just congratulate us on our endeavors, and they were just telling us to keep up the good work. So I just want to thank everybody that has been tuning in to our live stream tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I don't take your support lightly, because if it's not for the people, you're not going to have an audience to talk to. So I really want to thank you. There's another person that said hello to us. So obviously we've been reaching out to people tonight. I want to thank everyone and just continue to support us. Once again, you can support us financially at $UrbanWire, which is on our screen. And what else? It was something else I wanted to say. And if you also want to advertise with us, or if you have a product or service, you can email me at seharris02@gmail.com. Right now, we're doing a pretty low price if you want to advertise with us, or if you want your product to be commercialized on our platform. We're doing a low introductory price of $25 a month. So this will be a great way to just, get your product and service out to a few more people. And it's definitely a good investment. More people are starting to pay attention to the platform. And once again, I just want to thank everybody for that. Now I want to move on to our next topic, dealing with this whole situation, dealing with the hate crimes bill approved by the Michigan House, and how actually, according to this article, which is from Channel 4 News in Detroit, they're saying that the House wouldn't criminalize incorrect pronoun use. So I'm wondering if this is just one of those things where that misinformation has been passed along in the media. And I know you have some information on that, Jonathan, if you want to discuss that.
I'm looking at a Newsweek article concerning this, and Newsweek seems to be under the impression, and I don't really know if this is an opinion piece or if this is actual like hard news. But this headline reads, Michigan pronoun laws probably unconstitutional. And as I'm going through this article, it's mainly saying that this bill has been criticized on the political right due to the focus on the gender identity part of the bill, which is only a fraction of what legislators would cover. I'm actually kind of in agreement that this probably would be a First Amendment issue, and it probably would find its way in the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
But if there's no mention about if someone intentionally is misgendering someone, like someone says, my name is Sam, you say, well, it's Samantha. Is that going to be penalized under Michigan law? And it doesn't, from what I can tell, I'm getting two different looks at this, and I honestly can't tell.
Yeah. Well, this article that I'm reading over here says the House Bill 4474 is among a package of bills that would expand the Michigan current hate crimes laws. So I guess there's laws, but it's just adding on to this. And it will protect people based on their sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, physical or mental disability, and age. A person would be guilty of hate crimes if they maliciously or intentionally do any of the following. So these are the bullet points that they have in this article. The first bullet point is if they use violence of another individual, they cause bodily injury to another individual, intimidates another individual, damages, destroys, or defaces any real, personal, digital, or online property of another individual without consent of that individual, threatens by word or act to do any of those actions. The bill defines gender identity or expression as having or being perceived as having a gender-related self-identity or expression, whether or not associated with an individual's assigned sex at birth. According to the Department of Justice, the term hate can be misleading. When used in a hate crimes law, the word hate does not mean rage, anger, or gender dislike. In this context, hate means bias against people or groups with specific characteristics that are defined by the law. So, and then it goes on to say that why wouldn't this bill make it a felony to use the wrong pronouns? And then it says, while disrespectful and rude, a failure to use a person's requested pronouns would not run afoul of the proposed amendment to our hate crime laws for many reasons. And this is a reason why they were saying this. It's because the hate crime law doesn't refer to speech, but it's instead focused on conduct. So pretty much as we were saying earlier, this is more about are you physically doing something to this person? Are you attacking this person? Are you defacing their property? So that's what I'm gathering from this. Because like you mentioned before, if we start going in that direction, it's going to open up a whole other can of worms. And like you said, this will end up in the Supreme Court. And they're going to toss it out and it's going to do more harm than good. So I don't know who's been putting that narrative out there, but obviously it's not a factual narrative and it's not based upon the law. So, yeah. I don't know how you feel about that, Ethan.
I mean, so much is changing in so many different states, and I know that in Florida, in particular, they just passed 200 laws overnight, and a lot of them are. I mean, I can read a few of them if you want me to.
Yeah, we were going to discuss that, so yeah, that'll be a good segue into this.
Okay. Well, here are the top ones that I was talking about. Let's see. So HB 1069, reminder, this is in Florida, expands a 2022 law to 8th grade that barred instruction about sexual orientation and gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Let's see, imposes restrictions on which bathrooms transgender people can use at schools and public buildings, requires people to use bathrooms that line up with their sex assigned at birth. Prohibits colleges and universities from spending money on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. This is the 3rd law. Sorry, I'm not reading it right. And then SB 1580 establishes a right for healthcare providers to opt out of providing services because of a conscience-based objection based on religious, moral, or ethical beliefs. So those are the top ones aimed at our community specifically. But it's just shocking. It's just, it's like that, one step forward, 2 steps back that our country is just seeming to do right now. And like I said, it's like we're in the future right now. It says 2023, approaching 2024, and we're still fighting the good fight. So,
and what is Joe Biden doing about this? Like, that's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? Like, it's a lot of things, and I don't even want to get into it because I don't want to even go there and go in on Joe Biden. But like, what is he doing? Like, you guys are in control right now. Like, why aren't you being more outspoken about this? I mean, it's just crazy to me. And then I wanted to add to what you said, Ethan, and this was as of May 23rd. Now we're in August now, so this is kind of outdated, but this is just to give you a frame of reference of how many hate crimes bills, not hate crimes, but anti-LGBT bills that have been passed this year. They were saying in this article, which is from the Human Rights Campaign, they were saying as of May 23rd, there are over 520 anti-LGBT plus bills that have been introduced into state legislators, which that's a record. Over 220 bills specifically targeting transgender and non-binary people, which this is also a record according to them, and also a record 70 anti-LGBT laws have been enacted this year so far. And these laws include laws banning, like you said. Were we reading the same article? Because they're saying some of the same things. Like,
is it in Florida? Well, the ones that I read were just in Florida.
Oh yeah, I think this is like a grand scheme of
the grand scheme. The transgender using the bathroom assigned at birth.
Yeah, that's one of them. And then they were saying laws targeting drag performances, laws requiring or allowing misgendering of transgender students, and laws banning gender affirming care for transgender youth. So we have a lot as the community to discuss, and I think we need to kind of put these schisms aside within our community, because we know that there's a lot of division even within our community, and we need to come together. Like I was mentioning earlier, we need to come together and speak out against things that actually matter. You know what I mean? Like this is like you said, we're going backwards. Like all the progress that Obama made, like it's just been reversed. And as we can see, like nothing's set in stone. Like even with the whole situation of affirmative action, we thought that was something set in stone. And you can see how the Supreme Court just struck that down and dismantled that. So like we said on this show before, like your rights are not absolute, and they're not permanent. Like, you know what I mean? And that's why we have to get active in the political process, because depending on who's in office, they will pretty much run the rules of the game. So we have to get politically involved, and that's just not even for the LGBT community. Like any community, I would even say for the Black community, we have to get involved, because you can't sit here and say that this and this is not getting done, and you're not getting out here and vote. And we need to quit just voting out of habit for one particular party, because just because you're voting for someone that's Democrat does not mean that they have your best interest in heart. So I will say that too, but we're going to get more into that next time, next week on our podcast for the UrbanWire. But I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to that before we move on to our next story.
Yeah, I just want to just echo what you just said is vote. That's what it's about. It's about voting for your rights. It's about your identity, voting for your self-expression, being allowed to do those things. And, we live in a red state, and these red states, they are starting with either Florida or Texas. They are all tripping over each other to bring out all these new anti-LGBT laws, and Indiana is going to be one that is going to start introducing them in the near future. I can guarantee it, because
they're trying to bring together all the red states to rally. Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
And it's honestly not at the federal level that all of these anti-LGBT laws are being introduced. These are all at the state level, and these laws do affect us. I'm going to underscore that. And I really do like that Michigan law in terms of strengthening a lot of the hate crimes that you had just mentioned. There has to be something to counteract this. And it's going to have to, we're going to have to get people like Ron DeSantis out of office.
Have to.
And now the thing is, who's going to replace him? That's for another time, another discussion.
Yeah.
But we have to vote, and unfortunately, because we live in a red state, it's these blue cities that they're not getting out and voting.
Yeah.
That's the issue. All of this can really turn around, because I don't really think that there is enough in the rural areas, at least of Indiana. But people in the rural parts of this state, they vote, whereas a lot of the people in the blue areas of Indiana, do they have to be bothered by this?
Well, let me ask you this: do you think a lot of times too, is it a political? Some of these voting, like some of the stuff that's been implemented, do you think that it's a strategy to discourage people from the blue cities to vote? Like, do you think there's a concerted effort?
Yes.
Yeah,
hands down.
Because they know that these bigger cities, some of these like red states, they're pretty much at the mercy of some of these bigger cities, and that's why I think a lot of them try to put in measures to discourage people to not vote, or they try to put in stumbling blocks or put in like things to kind of make it difficult for these people to vote. So that's what I say. You have to make your voice be heard. Like you can't allow just a minor inconvenience stop you from getting to the polls. You have to do your part, and you have to vote. Again, let me say this: you have to vote for people that have your best interest in heart. Stop voting for these candidates that only come around when it's time to vote. Stop voting for these people that just take up space in the Senate or take up space. They're not representing your district, and you guys keep voting these people in. You keep voting for a party that does not care about you and that just only cares about your vote. So we have to get involved. We have to become educated, not just stop voting straight party ticket. We have to be more educated with our votes, and we have to become engaged in the process. So that's all I have to say about it. That's all I got for it.
Well, the one thing I will say is it's things like this in these states that are going to increase hate crimes and going to increase murder, because the people that are committing these crimes think that they're doing a service based off of the example that they get from their government.
Yeah.
So
not only that, it's certain personalities in the media,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Tucker Carlson's of the world and stuff like that. And all of this has a history. Anita Bryant back in the 1970s, you know, when a lot of the LGBT issues of that era were really starting to take effect. And then all of a sudden you have someone like her who is coming out there and, you know, trying to put a stop to a lot of the progress that we were making back then.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this cycle doesn't seem to end.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good way, good point to segue into our next story. And this story also comes out of Michigan. There is a pastor by the name of Pastor Albert Weathers that was just that pled guilty of the murder of a young trans woman back in 2018. And word on the street is this pastor was known to solicit transgender prostitutes, and he would solicit their services. He would refuse to pay them. They said that he was abusive towards them. He would beat them up. It was just like all kinds of things that came out. And 4 years later, the family is just now getting justice, which is just disgusting. And from the article, from the video I'm about to play, you're going to see that he's only going to probably even get just 10 years. That's it. And I don't know. We're going to go to the clip just to give you some context of this. We've covered this story before. We covered it last year. I don't think we covered it on the I think I covered it on the UrbanWire podcast, because I know C and I were discussing it, but we now have new breaking news about this. So we're going to go to this clip dealing with these pastors, because some of these pastors are out here tipping and dipping, peeping and creeping, and slipping and sliding. So we're going to get into it after we come back from this clip.
I just wanted to hear him admit it.
Jessica Williams lost her child to murder in December of 2018. Now, 4.5 years later, Pastor Albert Weathers of Sterling Heights has pleaded guilty to killing 36-year-old Carlee Stow, a transgender woman leaving her body in the street near McNichols and Brush in Detroit, an area known for prostitution.
Did you say a prayer with her before you left her out in the street like trash? You know, did you just at least hold her hand and tell her you're sorry?
Kelly's family wants the world to know she wasn't some castaway. She was very much loved.
It has been heart-wrenching. Yeah, Kelly was my first grandchild. And we had a bond, a serious, tight bond. I don't want her to be what society may have a picture of trans women of color. You know, they're not throwaways. They're not people who people have forgotten. You know, they all have a backstory, and I think that's something that needs to be realized. She was cared for. She was loved.
Born Tristan Stow, he was raised in the church, grew to be 6'4", got a scholarship and played college football, but left after a couple of years instead, wanting a career in fashion.
I personally told her to be the best version of herself that she could be, own it, just live your life and be happy.
In school in Chicago, Tristan studied fashion and found a community of authenticity and eventually told her family she was transgender. People called her Kelly.
I was glad for her. I was proud of her to own who she was and to be her true self.
Why the pastor shot Carlee Stow in the early morning hours of December 7th, 2018, we may never know. But Carlee's family hopes Pastor Albert Weathers tries to make things right. He's facing 8 years in prison for second-degree murder and 2 years for felony firearm.
How tortured are you to lead such a duplicitous life? And to the point that you were willing to cover up what you did by taking this life. How dare you? Clearly, he's attracted to that population. So own it. Own it. And maybe change your life.
Carlee's family grateful to the Wayne County prosecutor and Wayne County victim advocate for the transgender community, Julissa Abad, for sticking with the case that was finally about to go to trial on Monday.
I am glad that there was a conviction. Justice was finally served. You just don't know the
lives that people live. And it goes again to the social stigma that my community experiences, particularly trans women of color.
Women like Kelly Stow, whose lives matter.
My sister never wavered in her commitment to her child as a person first. And that's what I would encourage families to do. Look beyond the social stigmas.
Stick by your kid, stand with them. You had them, they're yours, and support them.
In Detroit, Amy Lang, Fox 2 News.
All right, we're back. All I want to start and say kudos to that young lady's family and her support system, because so many times, like, not even just trans people, but even gay, bi, and lesbian persons, they don't have that support system in their family. And kudos to her for having a family that was there to stick by her and kind of see this whole process through. So I really want to say that she was very lucky to have that support system. And I really feel a lot of times, even in the Black community, which is good to see this, they loved her unconditionally. They supported her in whatever that she wanted to do, because she had a full ride scholarship, like for sports and stuff like that, but she decided that she wanted to go another direction in her life. And the family was, hey, this is your life. You know, we're going to stand behind you 100%. You know what I mean? And they made some good points. It's sad that the church has just been, I don't know. I just don't know. It's really sad that this pastor is supposed to be a man of God, and he's out here living a double life. I don't know if you guys seen him in the clip, but honey, he's sitting up here looking like Bubba, and you could tell he's cheap. They say he wouldn't pay the girls. He wouldn't pay the prostitutes. I can tell by that jacked up haircut he had, looking like Bubba, looking like just. I don't even know what it is about these people that just feel like they can just use and abuse our community and then just throw us away like it's nothing. And it's kind of sad that even in 2023 that a lot of trans women feel like that is the avenue that they have to take. Even though there's been strides, of them being able to integrate into the professional world and stuff like that, but it's sad that they still have to feel like that's their only outcome that they can, or avenue that they can take to support themselves. So that's another issue within itself. But it's crazy. Like, that's why a lot of people don't respect these churches. Like, you don't live the life that you speak about, and then you're out here doing any and everything under the sun. And this is going to get into our topic here in a little bit. These people are opportunists. They're not allies. They're opportunists. They want to use our community. They want to use us for sex. They want to use us for everything under the sun, but then they want to throw us away, and then they don't want to claim us. So I don't know how you guys feel about this situation. I'm going to start with you, Jonathan. How do you feel about the entire...
I do have a quick question. Yeah. Did this guy... I'm trying to find this, but... Did he use this gay panic defense?
No, he didn't use it. They were saying in the clip, they don't even know what. Right.
They don't know his motivation.
Yeah, they don't know his motivation, but chances are it was probably a situation that went wrong. And Kelly Stowe, they said she was a big girl, like she was tall. And the thing is, he thought he was going to probably, play her. And it's because I heard this on Fox Stone, and they had a good what's the word I'm looking for? They had a good theory behind this. He probably got into a tussle because this Kelly Stowe probably was a big girl, and she was an athlete too, and there was probably a struggle, and he had to kill her. So I feel like he's not going to tell the whole entire truth. You know what I mean? And then the sad part about it is you probably have people, because that's how church people are. They stupid as hell. They're probably standing behind this pastor. Oh yeah, he killed you.
They will.
Yeah, and they'll forget everything in the church except, you know what I mean? Like gay people, we don't. He's still straight. We know he just had a little especially these pastors can do no wrong in these people's eyes. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's the theory behind it. But he wasn't paying the girls. They say he was cheap. I could tell he looked cheap. He looked disgusting. And I just don't understand why they would even sleep with him. But that's a whole different topic for another day.
Right. But this, just like any other death of a trans woman, a black trans women, it disgusts me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe this is one of the motivations why Michigan's doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
And I really hope other states follow in their, furthering of or strengthening of these hate crimes laws, because people have to look out for them. And in this case, her family looked out for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that is a rarity.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. I'm like,
not even just for the black gay community, but just in general.
Yeah. And these pastors, they think they can get away with anything nowadays. And again, the phrase I like to use, it's all going to come out in the wash.
Here I gotta drive this point. I've been saying this all throughout this broadcast. This is why we need, as a community, we need to stop bickering about stupid stuff, because we have real life situations, life and death situations like this. And I kind of feel like this. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but do you think with the mainstream LGBT community, do you think that they tend to kind of like, where I'm about to go, right?
I do.
As far as people of color in the community, do you think that they kind of overlook this stuff and only, I don't want to say the white LGBT community, but let's just say that, like the mainstream LGBT community, do they tend to kind of, I don't know, look past what people of color or black
look the other way?
Yeah. Like, do you feel like that's a thing in our community? Let's just be honest about it.
I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's that we don't do enough. I don't think it's we're ignoring it or like looking the other way. I just don't think that we're fighting hard enough to stop those things from happening in the community. That's just my opinion. But
well, I'm going to use 2020 as an example. In Indy, when I forget his name,
George Floyd.
No, not George. No, here in Indianapolis. Reed was his last name, I think.
He was shot by
Deshaun Reed.
Yeah.
And with all of the upheaval that was going on, because starting with George Floyd, and then just literally exploding across the country, and then an incident happens in Indianapolis that a lot of people were looking at the LGBT Circle City Pride as that, because they were really, really slow to respond.
I remember that mess. That was a mess.
And it's almost like they had to be, pushed in order to do it. So in order to answer that question, I don't really want to speculate, but at the same time, I can't put it past certain members of the white LGBT community to look, to overlook it and just kind of look the other way. But when I don't want to say when a white gay man is murdered, and I'm not going to do any comparisons because any murder is terrible.
Yeah, but let's just keep it real, though. I mean, that's what we talk about on this show. We keep it real. We keep it 100% on this show.
It's uneven in terms of the response.
And we know, I don't care about these people in Indianapolis. Let's just call it what it is. The gay community in Indianapolis has always been problematic. And you know this because remember we did that interview, I think it was like our third show in when we had Keith Washington
Yes.
give us like the history of the gay community in Indianapolis. It's always been problematic. And I kind of see with this generation coming up, things are changing because a lot of them are trying to, they're not, this generation that's coming up is a lot better. But because I think the changing of the guard is taking place.
It is.
And I feel that a lot of the old, bitter, tired queens in the past, because you're gay don't mean that you can't be biased, like racially biased. That doesn't mean anything. It's just your orientation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that this generation is more inclusive. They're more into human rights and the rights of other people. And I just kind of feel like something that bothered me back in 2020 when we were dealing with the whole George Floyd situation. It's like, I'm looking and seeing all these people. When it comes to a spotlight, then they all want to come out. Yeah, they was all marching in the street. I said, but I'm looking how y'all treat the Black people in your own community. And it's all for show. Like, I feel like it was all for show. And you guys only come out when it's benefiting to you. And if there's a spotlight for you or something that will push your narrative or your whatever, you know what I mean? So I kind of feel like, you know, it's a sad reality, but this is a conversation that we have to have. You know what I mean?
We do. And
someone, I would want to shout out somebody on Facebook. They just said, yeah, this is so true. It's uneven. So we have to just look at this. I know this is an uncomfortable conversation, but we got to have it. And I'm not going to use my platform to sugarcoat or get on here and make people feel good about stuff. If we need to speak out against this because there is a division in our community. And I would have to say this too. There are some problematic Black gays in our community that want to assimilate and they don't want to speak out against this stuff. You want to fit in and you know the shit's not right, but yet you want to sit amongst these people and fit in and even hate people of your own hue. So that's a lot. Like Indianapolis is very problematic. That's why I don't even go, and I ain't really go here because that's a place here in Indiana. I ain't gonna name no names, but that's why I refuse to go there because they still have that old school mentality. So I'd rather deal with the younger generation where they're more inclusive, they're more open-minded than deal with these bitter old jaded queens that can't function outside of their circle. They can't, you know. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into, you know, I'm ranting at this point, but I just feel like it's a conversation that we have to have.
I actually wouldn't mind expanding on that in
a future show.
Yeah,
we're going to get into that because
because I think that's the tip of the iceberg, and you know, this shit runs deep.
Yeah,
I hate to, you know, I know it's PG, but
sure. Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with the second part of our show. This part will air live, but we're going to chop it up. So we'll have two. We're going to break this up into 2 episodes. But those that are listening, stay with us. We're going to be right back. And we want to thank everybody so far that have tuned in to us. We appreciate the support. We've been getting a lot of comments on Facebook. And I want to appreciate all of you guys for chiming in and becoming engaging into the, you know, with the platform. Because we don't want you guys just to sit there and watch. We want you to engage with us.
Yeah.
Because this is for the community. That's why we're doing this, because we want to have a community dialogue. So continue sending in your comments. And we're going to go to a quick break. And then we're going to come back with the remaining portion of our show.
Welcome to the Tea Podcast, bringing you the best in news, entertainment, celebrity gossip, social commentary, humor, and LGBTQ lifestyle. This podcast is part of the UrbanWire Media Network, where we shine the light on issues impacting the urban community. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher.
These Treats LLC is a decadent sweet shop that creates exquisite desserts for any occasion. Whether it be for an anniversary, birthday, special event, etc., C's Treats has you covered. C's Treats LLC uses the most freshest items and the best chocolates, caramels, and products in the world. Every bite of C's Treats will leave you wanting more. She's located on the west side of Indianapolis, and you can connect with her on social media. She's on Facebook and she's on Instagram. Reach out to her via email at cstreats38@gmail.com, or you can contact her at 317-664-2609.
Hey, I have a question for you. Are you too busy to keep your chores done? Well, leave it to Crystal Clean. Crystal will help you keep your place clean, balanced, and in tip-top shape. Crystal will arrive fully equipped with her own cleaning supplies, positive energy, and ability to work some beautiful magic into your life. Keep your home your sanctuary and take away some of that stress and worry. You can message her or text her directly to schedule a service at 317-603-5897. Crystal is now specializing in residential and office cleanings, and she's also now servicing Central Indiana, Hamilton County, and Greater Indianapolis. Check her out today.
All right, we are back with the second part of our show. We are now in episode 12, which I need to update that on our screen. Check us out at www.youtube.com/UCOFW. Please subscribe to our channel. Also, we're on our Facebook group page if you want to follow us for updates on show listings, excerpts of our shows, events that we're going to be planning in the future, all kind of wonderful things. So just follow us at the UrbanWire Media Network, and you can follow our group page on there. Think of other housekeeping things we have going on. Like I mentioned before, we're going to be starting UrbanWire Media Network radio, talk radio later on this year. So we're going to be working toward that, hopefully towards the end of the year or early next year. I don't know. So we're back with my partner in crime, as I mentioned before, my baby, Jonathan. And our good Judy over here, Miss Ethan girl. Yes. Yes. So the second part of the show, we're just going to we have a couple more news articles that we're going to talk about, or news items that we're going to talk about. There was a scientific breakthrough earlier on last century dealing with Henrietta Lacks, and we're going to get into that. How they used her cells to develop a lot of the vaccines that we benefit from today, including the COVID vaccine. And her family reached the settlement because they were saying that they were using her cells, her cancer cells, the cells that came from her, and the pharmaceutical companies made billions off of her. So, and the family was never compensated, so they came to a settlement with that. Also, we're going to talk about something interesting, like what are the worst states, best and worst states to live and work in Indiana. So we're going to discuss that, and then we're going to get into our main topic for tonight, dealing with opportunists versus allies in the community, and how can you spot these people and what we need to do to rid these people out of our spaces. So we're going to jump into the topics, but did you guys have anything to add as far as anything else you want to discuss before we jump into our last few stories?
No, I'm just ready to jump right in.
Yeah,
what do you say?
I'm good. All right. Okay, as I mentioned, Henrietta Lacks, she was really responsible. Unknowingly, she didn't know, but like her cells were used to create a lot of pharmaceutical breakthroughs and like a lot of things that have helped a lot of people throughout the years. And we're going to go to this clip kind of explaining that. And there's a lawyer by Benjamin Crump. He was able to help that family fight to win that case. And once we come back, we're going to talk about that because once again, this kind of ties into, do you have allies or do you have people that are opportunists? So we're going to go to this clip and I'm going to come back with our commentary.
Lacks is one of the most important figures in modern medicine you may have never heard of. Before she died of cancer back in 1951, doctors took her cells without her consent, and then they were used in countless medical breakthroughs. But her family was never compensated until now. Yesterday, attorney Ben Crump announced a settlement with a biotech company. Her family claims profited off of her cells. Jerika Duncan has more on her story.
Happy birthday!
Henrietta Lacks' family rang in her birthday Tuesday with a present they fought for years to secure, a settlement for an undisclosed amount, cementing her impact on the field of medicine.
My grandmother gave the world a gift 70 years ago, and we're here today to give her a gift of justice.
Doctors at Baltimore's Johns Hopkins Hospital harvested Lacks' cells without her knowledge in 1951, a practice they've insisted was common at the time. But after she died, her cells would become the first human ones to be grown and replicated outside the body. Now known widely as HeLa cells, combining the first two letters of her first and last name, they've contributed to the development of vaccines for everything from polio to COVID and to Nobel Prize-winning cancer research. Lacks' family accused biotech company Thermo Fisher of making billions in profits from innovations tied to her cells. In a statement Tuesday, the company said the parties are pleased that they were able to find a way to resolve this matter outside of court.
Today certainly was poetic justice.
Attorney Ben Crump began working with Lacks' family 2 years ago. He says this is just the beginning, and he expects other pharmaceutical companies to, quote, do right by Lacks.
A lot of people just think of the HeLa cell as a cell and a product, but she was a woman. She was a mother, a grandmother.
Alfred Carter is one of Lacks' grandchildren.
People know that what happened to Henrietta Lacks was wrong. But we're all here together to make things right.
For CBS Mornings, I'm Jerika Duncan.
This is a long time in coming, and they always say it is never too late to do the right thing. I mean, you think about what she gave us in the medical community unknowingly.
Right.
And unknowingly and never compensated and never really acknowledged for many, many years. I didn't even know about this story until I was an adult.
That's right. And we read about it in The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, and Oprah produced that movie.
Oprah produced it, was in it, yeah.
That's right.
All right, we are back. That was just something fascinating I think in the news cycle this week that I was kind of wanted to bring to the forefront. I've heard of Henrietta Lacks before, but I've never really delved into it. But I really found that was very fascinating that her cells, like even though she went through cancer, and even was kind of messed up how they used her cells without her knowing. I really think there was a wonderful thing that she was able to kind of get back in a way, even though she went through something unfortunate. And it's really good that the family has now gotten justice. Like the article or like the clips, mentioned, there wasn't I guess it's probably one of those things, because there's a lot of times in cases like that, they probably put a gag on it to where they can't really talk about it, about the settlement and what they reached. But I guarantee you that their family is going to be well off now, considering how much money that pharmaceutical company has made throughout the years. I think they are very pleased, and I'm glad that Benjamin Crump stepped in on that. But it goes to show you, like, even Black people in America, like, we've always been taken advantage of. We've always had things stolen from us. And I hate to say this is why reparations are needed, because there's been so much taken from us. And it's not even from a slavery point of view, which we can definitely talk about that. But there's been a lot of things that we have gone through in this country, a lot of inventions that are still used today in the modern world that came from Black Americans, like African Americans, people that were descendant of slaves, and they weren't properly, it's just sad. Like, it's just this country, they refuse to acknowledge that they have a debt that they need to pay. And even with the whole Tulsa City rise, I don't know if you heard about that, how that successful town, how there were still a couple survivors from that in the courts still denied that the people that were living should have any type of reparations or anything paid to them. And it's just very sad that this country will give billions of dollars to other foreign nations, but then they won't take care of their own people, because Black Americans are Americans. We helped build this country. We made this country what it was. And for them it's just a slap in the face. You know what I mean? Like, every other group has benefited from reparations, and they still benefit from that. And they just won't make us whole, because I think in the system of white supremacy, it would equal out things, and that system won't work, because I feel like, if you gave Black people a leg up, I think the playing field would be evened out, and I think that the powers that be don't want that to take place. So this is just another story that just demonstrates, like, how we've always had things taken from us, and this country will not acknowledge that. So I don't know how you guys feel about that or about this particular story, but
I know that the medical community has a lot of examples of, it's almost like the ends justify the means.
How they've exploited a lot, especially the Black community. Like, even with the Tuskegee experiment, like, that's another situation. Like, it's a very cutthroat industry.
John Oliver did a expose like a few years ago about medical schools, and somewhere deep in his deep dive of what he was trying to expose is that back in the day, there were a lot of medical students who were taught that African Americans and women experience pain differently.
Yes.
And these medical students who eventually became doctors took that with them to their practices, hospitals, wherever, and they think that's gospel. And it was completely far from the truth. And I think the medical establishment is really changing and really trying to set things right. It might be slow, but just like with Henrietta Lacks, eventually, the long march towards justice,
It's a lot, and this can get into a whole nother discussion about disparities within like Black and other people of color, like they're in the community as far as resources and just the disparities in general. Like, you know, that's a whole nother topic that we can discuss some other time. But yeah, it's sad, but I mean, it's really good that this story had a positive outcome. So
yeah,
just leans back towards, you know, where we're at in just the day and age of corporate America. You know, greed, just being inconsiderate toward somebody because you're making money off of them. So they don't give up. They don't care about them at all.
Well, it's definitely the dark side of capitalism. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and medical research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's segue into our next topic. This is an article that came from CNBC, and I'm just going to highlight some of the top points on here. These are the American, the top 10 worst states to live and work in 2023, and there's a big surprise at the very bottom, according to them. As you can tell, there's no big surprise. Number 10 was Florida, and they were saying how Ron DeSantis hopes to ride his war on woke to the White House, but is not winning his state's points for quality of life. Supporters of the State Stop Woke Act, which DeSantis signed into law in 2022, say that it projects employees from diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that DeSantis say that are toxic. But many companies consider DEI an economic imperative, and courts have struck down parts of this law. The recent Supreme Court decision on affirmative action in higher education, however, is expected to lead new legal challenges to the DEI programs in the corporate world. So they were saying some of the strengths of Florida, though, are the air quality, child care, and worker protections. Okay, I didn't know that. Number 9 on that list was Arkansas. Number 8 was Tennessee, obviously, because they mentioned in this article about the whole situation about laws targeting the LGBTQ plus community, and about, you know, the bathroom laws and all that stuff. But they were saying some of the weaknesses are inclusiveness, crime, and voting rights. Check this out. Guess who's at number 7? I'll let you take a wild guess.
Indiana.
Yes, you're correct. Indiana has, unfortunately, we're on the top of that list for all the wrong reason. I just lost my place. Let me get back to that article. Okay, let me scroll back there. I lost my spot. But yeah, Indiana is number 7 on this list, and they were saying how our weaknesses here are child care and inclusiveness as well. They were saying with fewer than 10 licensed child care facilities per 100,000 residents, the Hoosier state is taking it hard, making it hard for families to fully participate in the workforce. It's the second worst, check this out, the second worst figure in the nation behind even Louisiana, according to the advocacy group Child Care Aware. Protections against discrimination under the state law are limited as well. So, yeah, number 6 was Missouri. And there's a tie between Alabama and South Carolina. And they pretty much have some of the same issues as well. Voting rights, worker protections, inclusiveness, health. Number 3 was Louisiana. Number 2 was Oklahoma. And check this out. Number 1 they had on the list was Texas. They were saying how could 200,000 college-educated workers moving to Texas each year possibly be wrong? It depends on how you look at it. With the nation's highest percentage of people without health care insurance and the second lowest number, of primary care physicians per capita, all those new Texans are arriving to find a dismal healthcare system. Texas has the nation's 13th highest violent crime rate, so they're taking crime into consideration, and it ranks 37 for licensed child care facilities per capita. So that was the top worst places to live in. So does any of those surprise you?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Not in the least.
Nope. Yep.
Indiana seems to be like if my hand was the southern states, Indiana would be the middle finger.
I got today.
No, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Don't look.
Don't look.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate. Indiana can really be a really great state.
Yeah, it has potential. But we were just talking, me and Jonathan and I were talking the other day, like Indiana is like one of those states where it almost can be split into two states, I feel like. Because you have northern Indiana, like LaPorte County, Lake County, I'm sorry. Lake County.
LaPorte too.
Yeah, LaPorte too. It just seems like they're like an extension of Chicago. They're more liberal up there versus like the lower half of the state, like southern Indiana. Like you wouldn't even think they're part of the same state. Like it's more progressive up there because they're an extension of Chicago. I think that's why it's even the city up there, East Chicago. It's literally an extension of Chicago in their politics. Because a lot of people even they
cross the border
to work, you know. But it's just really crazy how politically behind we are. But we want this huge metropolitan area where a lot of people are drawn to us, but yet we still have these antiquated like ways of thinking and just it's just I don't know. I think Indianapolis is not as bad because I mean obviously we're a democratic city, but you know outside of that like it's I don't know. I mean to me I think there's worse places in the United States, but I think we're up there. Like I think for a northern state we have a very southern mentality. I mean, even there's some southern states that aren't even as bad as Indiana. I feel like I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I mean,
well,
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I have a pretty wild opinion, just as our country in general, as we are dividing ourselves severely and continuing to divide ourselves. Honestly, I just think that we should become independent countries instead of one whole country. And
but
that
you know
way,
what? That's not the first time people have said that. That's not really
that's true.
That's not really it's not a foreign concept. I mean, I've heard of people saying that before.
Even like since the founding of the country, there's always been talk that at least starting with the original 13 colonies that they should be split into two different countries.
Yeah.
After the Revolutionary War. And what does it all boil down to? At the time, of course, leading up to the Civil War, it all came down to slavery.
Yeah.
And we have been a fractured country. And then we had the Civil War, and then we came back together. We've been glued. And it's really been divided ever since.
It's like one of those marriages like where you're just there out of obligation, like you forced to stay there. It's almost like a mother and a father staying together for the sake of the kids. And I just feel like that's how it is. I would even say this country could be split to three ways at the very minimum. Because I think the West Coast is their own entity themselves.
They are.
So it's just like we have these pieces, like you said, it's like a ceramic plate that's being glued together. It's being held together, but you know you can't really use that plate, you know, as a whole unit because you don't know it's fragile, you know. And I kind of feel that's how this country is. It's like it's been forced to be glued together, but they're separate entities. I feel.
I love that you said that, like mom and dad staying together for the sake of the kids. The joke I want to make is like mom and dad got divorced and somebody ain't paying child support.
That's when you get in trouble with that child support now. But
I mean, this is definitely another subject for another time, but how this country still manages to stay together is honestly beyond me. In a way, I'm glad that it is, because really the U.S. has really afforded all of us, a lot of good things in our lives. And if we were to have like a national falling out and national breakup, would it be the same like leading up to the Civil War? And somehow I don't really think so. I could be wrong. Because I think that there's just a lot of states that would just say, yeah, sure, let them go. Like New England and the South, they would try to say, you know what, let's not fight over this. Let's just, part ways, amicably shake hands, and then, we're done. We'll do our own thing. You do your own thing. I think it would look terrible to the rest of the world.
Or the rest of the world could see it as finally they're doing this.
Honestly, yeah, they could.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, we have one more topic that we're going to discuss, and then we're going to get into our main topic, and then we're going to end the show. I want to talk about the entire Carlee Russel situation. Did you guys hear about that? About this? Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go to this news clip to kind of get in context to this, and then we're going to come back, because I really have a lot to say about this, because I feel like this young lady really has angered a lot of people, because she created this whole hoax. And this is a young nursing student from Alabama. And I'm going to get into this clip. It's going to kind of outline it, and then we're going to come back and we're going to discuss this.
And that story of a nursing student who admitted to staging her own kidnapping, triggering a 49-hour search effort, now turning herself into authorities. ABC's Ike Ajachi has the details on the charges she's facing. Good morning, Ike.
Good morning, Janae. Alabama prosecutors charging Carlee Russel with 2 misdemeanors for the 25-year-old's role in falsely reporting to law enforcement officers and falsely reporting an incident, each punishable with up to 1 year in prison if she's convicted. Now, on the night of July 13th, Russel called 911 from her car, claiming she saw a child walking alone on the interstate. Now, when police arrived, all they found was Russel's car, along with her wig, phone, and purse. But neither Russel nor the child were there. Now, her disappearance sparking that frantic 2-day search. Police and volunteers handing out flyers, searching the area. That is, until Russel returned home on the night of July 15th, claiming she was kidnapped and escaped, eventually admitting that she made the whole thing up. Now, the police chief saying Russell searched for Amber Alerts and the movie Taken on her phone before her disappearance. She's since been released on a $2,000 bond as she awaits trial. It's still unclear exactly why Russell fabricated the story. Guys?
Questions there. All right, Ike, thank you so much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here.
All right, Miss Robin, girl. All right, we get the point, honey. You're not getting free press and publicity on this show, honey. You're not getting that. So we are back. There's so many layers to unpack. I remember when this story first came out, like oh God, like I knew from the beginning that there was a play being made, and like a lot of the story wasn't adding up. They said this woman had her damn keys or her wig left in her car. And they said when she just showed back up at her mom's house, they said she had like $100 and something in her pocket. It was just, her story wasn't adding up. And I think that there's something mentally going on with this girl to make up this whole entire story. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's the thing that she was trying to get away from her parents, because her parents was overbearing, I hear. But I just think a lot of people are upset with her, because here it is, like we already have a situation in this country where a lot of people feel that Black women or Black people in general don't get the same coverage when they go missing. and here you are, you had all this national attention. And they said she came from a well-to-do family. Like, you were just a spoiled brat that I don't know what her motivations was, but they said that she was well-to-do. She had people in the community that were really trying to look for her. They had well-to-do people that were putting up money. They were creating GoFundMes. Like, I really feel that this girl deserves everything that she gets, because in a system where we don't value Black life, let's just be honest with you, they really went over and beyond to go to try to find this girl. And the countless number of hours and resources that were allocated to finding her, all of this was wasted. And then I'm gonna tell you who this reminds me of. This reminds me, you already know what I'm about to say, because I'm seeing memes of this, of Jessie Smollett. She pulled a Jessie Smollett. I was thinking. And I said, people don't realize when they do stuff like this makes it hard for victims in the future, like when Jessie Smollett did what he did, of hate crimes. That's why I feel like sometimes people kind of just look over shit when it happens to us, and specifically in the Black LGBT community, because of stuff like this. And then now this girl's doing this, it's just this, it's despicable. And I'm gonna put this comment online, like somebody just made a good point. Someone said she needs to go to jail because there's a lot of people getting kidnapped. And I totally agree with that.
Yes.
Because you have wasted valuable resources. I don't care what nobody says. And, I think we need to start holding people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Stop making excuses. It's not mental illness. I said, girl, you're not that mentally disturbed because you were in medical school. You knew what you were doing. And for you to, it was just a disgusting thing. You know what I mean? So
and it's not just that, but people spent lots of money.
Yeah.
Also,
yeah.
Lots of money.
Yeah. So I want to thank whoever that was for that comment, because they're dead on with that. But let me ask you guys about this. They said she was being charged. Do you think that should be a felony, or should it be a misdemeanor when people do stuff like this?
Felony.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially like I was saying, like if there's money involved, if like law enforcement's involved, like you're wasting people, like government resources, because you felt the need to do this for whatever reason. Absolutely, it should be a felony. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, I think that's a good way to segue. Before we go to our topic tonight, I want to send a shout out to my cousin Chan Harris. I want to wish her a happy birthday. That's like my ride or live. I don't like to say ride or die, but that's my ride and live. And I want to wish her a happy birthday, happy blessed birthday. I wanted to do that. I said before it split my mind, because I know she's gonna read me down if I don't wish her a happy birthday. But I just want to just wish her a happy birthday. She's always been a supporter of mine, a supporter of our platform. Growing up, that's just always just been like the sister I never had, was my cousin. So like even in our adult age now, like I can always depend on her to give me a word of encouragement or a good laugh. We used to get into trouble at church. We used to sit around, baby. We used to talk about the people in the church, baby. We used to cackle in church, but we got into a lot of things going on. But I would say that she has always accepted me for who I am. Even now, she's accepted Jonathan, like my friends. Like I couldn't ask for a better support system. That's not even her, just my family in general. I just think a lot of times with us, I think we take for granted that we have people in our corner that love and respect us, because it's not common. Like, it's not common. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's not common, but there are a lot of people in our community, they don't have that. So you don't never take that for granted. So you have to give people their flowers while they're here, because you don't want to be in a situation where something happens to a loved one and you'll be like, I wish I would have told them how much they meant to me, or I wish we wouldn't have let a little disagreement or something petty come between us. So I just urge anyone that has people in their life that love them, like I know things happen, people are going to disagree, but don't let the sun set without you getting that thing right, because people are leaving out of here. You just can't take for granted because somebody's young and vibrant. People are getting killed. People are getting taken out of here. So, but yeah. So
that's right. Happy birthday, Chan.
Yay. All right. I want to get into our last topic, and we're going to get off here because I know you guys it's early in the day, so I want to do this show early so y'all can get y'all drink on, your club on, or y'all can go out with the kids. Go eat, which we about to go eat after this.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a topic and get your opinion on it, because I wanted to get into the whole womanhood debate. Like, there was a situation where it was this messy transgender that got online. It says women don't own periods, and they don't own motherhood, and this, that, and the other, and trans women, this, that, and the other. I just kind of feel like a lot of times some trans women, I'm not saying all, because a lot of them were roasting her and getting on her, because there was this back and forth between T.S. Madison and Jess Hilarious, which is a comedian. There was a debate online about this, and then Flame Monroe and Angelica Davis, I think from Pose, they got into it online. It was this big to do about this, and a lot of Angelica Ross. Okay, yeah, they got into it online, and it was just a big mess. All because it's messy transgender. We don't even know who the woman is. Like, but she got all of us riled up over this. Like, natural born women are going against transgender women, and it was just a dumb debate. Like, why are we arguing over this when we have people getting killed and we have bigger fish to fry? But my thing is, it's like, why can't the trans women respect biological women and vice versa? Like, let's just be real. Like, it's a social construct, but we can't deny biology too. So why can't just the natural born women and transgender women come together and support each other without trying to tear each other down? Because trans women, they can't give birth, they don't have periods. So it's certain things that each other, they can respect each other's experience without trying to tear each other down. And that's my biggest thing about the whole situation. And it was just ridiculous. Like, and especially with amongst Black people, we already have enough division amongst us. Like, it was just ridiculous. Like, and I mean, there's countless videos online about it, but I don't know. I don't know. How do you feel about that? I mean, do you think it's just ridiculous that people are online having this crazy debate, like, amongst trans and regular women?
Yes. I think it's being stoked by a lot of people on the far right.
Yes.
And they just will not let this go. You know, live and let live. You know, if someone thinks that they're trans, okay, then they're trans. I just want to, I just want to move past these petty squabbles, but for some reason, there are some out there that just keep bringing it back, and we have to keep rehashing, all of these old issues.
Mm-hmm. I want to know what some of y'all think out here, like people that's watching on Facebook. Like, if you have a opinion about that, post it in the comments, because I feel like it's, it was a nasty thing. Like, it was, I think a lot of the nastiness come out, and then Tasha K brought her damn chicken head behind into the conversation. Girl, you got bigger fish to fry. And I mean, because you still got to pay Cardi B her $4 million. So, girl, you need to get off the line trying to be messy, trying to exploit. There we go again. You have these people that are opportunists. Like, she's an opportunist. Like, girl, you always have these gay boys and gay people on your show, but then you dissing them and dogging them out on the other hand. And that's why T.S. Madison wore her out. Like, you know what I mean? It was just a mess. But I don't know.
I was just gonna say, as an example, I saw one of the most transphobic things I've ever seen on social media. So I was traveling through, coursing through my page, and one of my friends, well, no longer friend, but we'll we'll get into that later. But who is also gay posted this thing, and it was Dylan Mullaney. You all know who Dylan Mullaney is. And it was a Tampax ad, and she was holding a used tampon that was covered in excrement instead of period.
Oh Lord,
menstrual blood. Anyway,
Period, Paul.
period. Yes.
Stop.
So, so I just posted. I said, imagine that transphobia in our own community. I can't believe it. And so I had a couple other, cisgendered women that are going on there and saying, women have fought for women's rights, blah, 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 blah. Trans people don't know what it's like to be a woman, and going on and on. I'm like, in my mind, I immediately blocked them because I did not even want to get into that. They're no longer, they're not in my circle. They're no longer part of my, whatever. But just because like one specific category of person, whether it be women's rights, Black Lives Matter, whatever, like one specific group goes through what they have to go through to earn their rights. They fought for, women's right to vote, women's, equal pay in the workplace, what have you. Why can't trans people fight for their rights? Is what, like, it's a completely different category. So it's like, you have your rights, why can't we fight for our rights? The division there is real. And it just goes back to what we were talking about a few episodes ago, saying that, there is discrimination in our own community, and it needs to be brought out, and it needs to be made an example of, because it's not right.
I think we all need to have like a sit down discussion about this amongst the LGBT, and have a very frank discussion about this, because if we don't talk about it openly and honestly, and come to some sort of agreement, we're going to continue to fracture. And there are some on the L and the G side, and probably B as well, that they want to completely rid the T off of LGBT.
Yeah. Ooh. Yes.
And that is starting to gain traction. So I think we need to have a reckoning moment.
Yeah. And I think that people in general also view the word phobia too generally, like too specifically, saying like, nobody's scared of gay people, nobody's scared of trans people. It's like, it has nothing to do with that. If you're against something, you're against it.
Or you fear that what they have going on is going to impact you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I said, some people just need to read a damn dictionary. Yeah. Like y'all just are so uneducated, and you're willfully ignorant. Like a lot of people refuse to get educated. They choose to stay in that place of ignorance. I feel like, you know what I mean? So,
and these topics are really starting to not only in the right side of the political spectrum, but it's also starting to really gain traction in the mainstream, where I've seen a Dr. Phil episode, and I don't really care for Dr. Phil, but he devoted one entire episode to trans issues. And of course, there's no resolution at the very end of the show.
Yeah.
And that is just for ratings. That is clearly
entertainment based.
Something that is entertainment based.
It relates to our topic. Yeah.
And that doesn't help. If we really want to get to the root of this, and not have it for show, we have to talk to each other.
We have to have an in-house discussion.
Yes. Like even, well, obviously Fox News really runs with this. Piers Morgan, he runs with this. Just a lot of the problematic media types. But now that Dr. Phil has really opened up the floodgates in the afternoon talk shows, it's and I'm sure it's been discussed on like The View, They just do it for ratings.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. Let's leads into our topic tonight, and it's been an ongoing thing. Do you feel like we have a big problem with people that claim to be our allies being nothing more than opportunists? Do you think that that's an issue? Because you just mentioned that Dr. Phil situation. These are people that years ago wouldn't even touch gay issues. Like the media wouldn't even acknowledge us years ago, but now that it's the trendy thing to do, or the topic that brings in the views and the ratings and stuff like that, do you think that a lot of times these people are taking advantage of our plight? Or, I mean, do you think that these people are not true allies? And do you think like we should be having more platforms allocated, platforms that are LGBT centered, and we should be discussing these issues in-house instead of allowing other people to exploit us?
Yes. To answer that last question.
Yeah,
I do.
But on the other hand, there's another side that, even though it can be seen as taken advantage of, on the other side, it gets people talking, it gets discussions happening, people talk about their opinions, and sometimes minds are changed.
Yeah.
That's true.
So there is a positive side to it.
Yeah.
I know I can only speak for myself in my experiences. Like when it comes to women in gay spaces, and that is amongst the gays, that is a very, very sensitive topic. There are a lot of women that really do have our backs, and they really do support us.
Yes, I'll never negate that. Mm-hmm.
But it's finding the right women that actually truly care about us.
Yes.
In what we go through. Like with me in particular, I've had a lot of female friends who just kind of took advantage of the fact that I was gay, and have they've asked me for money, they've asked me, so
they think that gay men are weak.
Yes, they do. A lot of them do. But then there are some that are, they're true to their word.
They're very protective of us.
And you're exactly right. They're very protective. And it's really hard to, kind of separate the wheat from the bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of hard to talk about this, just because just when you think that you have a friend and she turns out to be a Judas, it's really, it makes things a lot more complicated.
Mm-hmm. It's so sad.
It is.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
And it's the same thing. Like, you got a lot of these straight guys that come to the club because they feel, or they want to be friends with gay men, because I've heard this too. Oh, you guys have access to all the women and this, that, and the other. And they're users too. Like, it's easy to spot these people out. Like, and this is why, like, I'm all for women, especially the ones that have our back. But there are, like you said, there's a segment of them that want to come to our bars, cause all this confusion. They feel like they can come to gay establishments and act unruly. They sit up here. They bring all they want to have these bridal, whatever these little things are, like events at our clubs and stuff like that. But then when it's time to put the payment into to address some of the issues that are going on in the community, they're not our allies. They're there to benefit from us, but none of these people were speaking out. I'm not gonna say none of them. A lot of them weren't speaking out when the whole thing was going on in Tennessee with the ban on drag shows, but yet y'all want to come twirling your asses up into the gay bars to watch all the drag performance shows, but like very few of them were speaking out against it. Or, or anytime when it's time to put in work for the community, like you don't see a lot of these people out here putting in that work. Like you don't see them. Like you just don't. Like I'm not saying some of them aren't, there are true allies, but there's some that just want to come they want to come party with us and they want to experience the positive side of the community. But then when it's time to fight for rights or fight for things that are going to help us as a community, they're nowhere to be found. And I just feel like that is something that I've been noticing for years, and it's disgusting to me. Like, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I do feel like there's a lot of opportunity. Like, you know, I can see if I don't call it exploitation if both parties are getting something out of it. Like you mentioned earlier, like some platforms, even though they are profiting off of us, at least we're getting some benefit from it. But like sometimes a lot of these relationships are one-sided. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I feel like we need to start excommunicating, or we need to start putting these people on blast. Like, because it just angers me. Like, you guys don't care about us. It's clearly obvious. You know, you guys feel, oh God. I'm gonna tell you, it's a place. I'm gonna say it. There's a place in town called Broad Ripple, and I feel like there's a lot of people like that in Broad Ripple. There's these little closeted, what's that, masculine, toxic, masculine having guys mm-hmm. that wanna, you know, bro culture, yeah. Mm-hmm. And y'all want to sit up here and down the gays, but then you guys want to lay and play with the gays on the down low or with each other. And it's just like, you guys are sick. Like, and then some of you have the nerves to show up in pride and be like, oh, I'm here as an ally and this, that, and the other. But you're not no ally. Like, man, I could put some people on blast. I'm not going to do that with my platform, but I'm just so sick of this bro culture. I'm sick of these people that want to tip and dip and jump in and out of the community. But when it comes time to living in your truth and bearing your cross, you don't want to bear your cross. You want to have all the benefits of that and then go back to your straight life, your heterosexual life, where you can fool these women and you use these women. This gets into the opportunist side. You use these women as covers, because I'm like, I got to get on the women, because women, you have the intuition, but how do you not see that these guys are using you? Like, these guys are sweeter and more softer and more moisture than Duncan Hines cake, and you guys don't see it. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, everybody's just using everybody. Everybody is just trying to get over on everybody, but nobody wants to put in the work when it's time to put in the work. And that's what I'm tired of. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
One of my favorite comedians, Mateo Lane. Really funny guy. Mm-hmm. You know him. Yeah. He is sexy as hell. And he did this podcast. Actually, well, he was invited to this podcast called Flagrant, I believe. I might have to correct myself on that. I don't know. But it's these other guys who are asking them all these questions about, like, you know, gay culture as it relates to women. And he started off by saying, you know, women are always, we accept them because they've always, you know, always mainly been there for us. But he goes, there's this one type of woman out there that when they go to the clubs, he goes, and I'm going to do it in his fashion. He goes, it's all about me. And he's like, okay, that's where I draw the line, because, you know, you're coming into our space mm-hmm. and you are making a mockery of, you know, what we have done, what we've built up, and this, that, and the other, to just to put the spotlight on you. And he's like, that's a no-no.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm what's the word I'm trying to say? I mean, it's not like verbatim of what he said.
Yeah.
It's a interpretation.
Interpretation. There we go. And I'm like, holy shit! Someone finally had to say it, because I think that a lot of gay men have just been like, okay, yeah, she's here, and we've only been come to the same gay bar for a really long time. And I'm just like, I really want to be with I really want to hook up with a guy or something to that effect, or I just really want to get just really have fun, maybe without a woman. Just want to be with my a lot of my fellow gays and this, that, and the other. And
Friday night.
And you're just like, oh, okay, can we do this another time? And stuff like that. And it's gotten to the point to where there are some women, a lot of cis women, who are problematic. And when they come into our spaces, and it's like the fun that we have, a lot of times it's not the same fun that they're thinking of.
Yeah.
And that either might, intimidate them, or it might just go against what they believe. I don't really know. But some of them seem to have this moral high ground, and then they want to shut the shit down. And I'm like, why?
We were just talking. Remember, we was in Atlanta, and who was that was telling us about what was it? This guy.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he was saying about how what was it?
It was in New Orleans.
New Orleans. How it was like these women that was coming in the bars, like taking pictures of people and video.
Yeah.
Of stuff like, and it's just like, what are y'all planning on doing? Are y'all trying to? I just feel like sometimes these people are ops. Like a lot of times, people that coming in our spaces are ops. They're not for us. Because why would you come in knowing that we are already a subjugated group of people, and we have our sacred spaces, like what you are left that are for us, and then you want to come in, and it come almost. I can kind of see why the old school gays they didn't want women in their bar, especially the bear and leather bar. Hell to no. I know in Indianapolis, like it was probably in the last 5 years, like that they were really allowing women to come up in those bars because it was one of the things they had to. But that used to be a thing. They didn't want women coming up into the bars, and I don't want to say I don't know. I can almost see why, because you had people like that could get your place shut down. Like these people that's coming in like they are allies, but they are ops. And I think we still are dealing with that. You know what I mean? I don't know.
There were a handful of women. Remember that club we went to in New York? Like there were several women that I could point out that were there when we were there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just the environment doesn't seem inviting for them. So I don't know why.
Why would you want to come there?
Exactly.
Yeah. Like this, what are you coming there for? Those men are out of reach. They don't want you unless you want to look like you could turn out a straight guy. I mean, a gay guy. But those men, honey, that is testosterone central.
Yeah. And there are just certain clubs out there that are full of sexual energy.
Yeah.
And it's a type of sexual energy that is for specific people. Mm-hmm. And when a woman comes into this and she encounters it, what is she going to do? Yeah. Is she going to just kind of be on the sidelines and just, have your fun? That's fine. Yeah. And, I'll just go out my merry way and this, that, and the other. Or is she going to be one of those that's going to be like, hello, 911. You know what they're doing?
Because nobody mad because they don't want her damn SpongeBob square built ass there. I'm not trying to body shame, but it's mostly the ones that can't get a man that are like that. Like you want to come in and mess up our stuff because you can't get a man. Like and we're all accepting in our community. We and I think that's to our detriment at sometimes. But how can you come in here and trade on us like that? Like we're accepting you because some women feel like they feel more comfortable in the gay environment because they can be themselves. But then you have some of these women that are messy like that. they messier than some of the queens in the club. So I don't know.
I think a large part of it has to do with that we are victims of our own success. And that's going to be kind of a twofold answer, in the fact that, you know, we allow women into our spaces, and some of them, you know, they don't like what they see, and then they have to shut things down. And then there are some gay bars in general that are just shutting down because, you know, an area is being gentrified, and, you know, all these, you know, cis heterosexual couples are moving into the neighborhood, and they see this one gay bar that, you know, there's some, you know, things going on, and, well, we can't have that here. And then they shut that down. And
I knew that was going to happen to 501 here in Indianapolis. I remember that. But do you think that that's kind of what happened in Chicago too, as far as Boys Town? Because Boys Town is not a relic of what they used to be. I mean, it's still inclusive. It's still but it's not the.
I mean, you walk up and down Halstead Street in Boys Town, and you see these monuments along the side of the street with rainbow flag colors of all of these people that have really gone before us, who have, you know, they were pioneers in the gay rights movement. And then you have, like, right across the street from one of those pillars, you have this new apartment complex that went up, and you have all of these, I'm going to say it, breeders that are walking out with their kids and their dogs, thinking like, oh, well, this is a very safe neighborhood. And it used to be, at least back in the day, a not so safe neighborhood. And I mean, I can't really speak for Chicago just because I don't know it intently, but I think the gentrification has kind of pushed gay spaces out to where they have no choice but to close down. Now, some of it could be mismanagement. And it's hard to say, because there was a ton of gay clubs along Halstead Street within several blocks of each other. And when I first came out and went to Chicago in 2002, I mean, these bars were popping.
Yeah, that's the same in Indianapolis too.
They're a shadow of their former self.
But I see the same thing in Indianapolis too, because we used to have tons of gay bars. Like, it used to be something to do every single night of the week. And I wonder if sometimes, like, I think mismanagement is one thing, but also I feel that too, a lot of people started buying out these gay establishments. People that didn't even have an interest in the gay community. It was something to do because it was trendy, it was profitable, and they got tired of it. They just closed it down.
Talbot Street
is one of them that comes to mind. And I want to say, don't quote me on this, I want to say 501, like it was a straight couple of, I heard something like that, but they had several issues going on there anyway. I seen the writing on the wall for them, because when they started building those condos across the street years ago, I said, this is the beginning of the end. But I think it was a myriad of issues with why they closed. But I feel like a lot of times you have either mismanagement, or you have people buying these clubs because it's profitable, and they don't have an invested interest in the community, because it's more than a business to us. Like, these are our safe spaces, you know, and they get tired of it and they just sell it. You know what I mean? And they don't even try to keep. That's one thing I'll say about Zonies. I respect them, because even though they closed down Zonies, they still kept it. They made sure that facility was kept in our community. Like, they sold that property over to Damien Center. So I respect it. Even if you want to close the business down, find a way to either keep it in the community, or keep the doors open, and make sure whoever buys it or purchases it has a vested interest in our community, or make sure that building or something is used for the greater good of our community. And I don't think that we have that going on. And I think that could be the issue too, because now like I said, you know, I know integration is good. It's a two-edged sword. Now we feel like we can go to the straight bars, and there's a lot more people that are marketing their places as inclusive. We feel like we can go where we want to go, so we don't feel that we need these safe spaces. But as you see now, a lot of things are being reversed, and we're sitting up here closing all our safe spaces. Where's that going to, like, if things were to go back to where they were, or things were to get, where's our safe spaces? Like, because we're handing them over to people. We're not, I don't know. I just feel like we've gotten really relaxed by all of this inclusion. There's nothing wrong with that, but you still have to have a foundation. And I think we are just allowing our foundation to just crumble because we're getting comfortable. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring that topic up. I think it was a really good discussion. We are almost 2.5 hours in, so we're going to probably end this episode. But I feel like this was a wonderful episode and a good way to get back into the swing of things. We're going to probably start doing our shows like this, doing a part 1 and part 2, so we can release 2 shows a month, so that it won't just be one show, so we can have something more regular come out. And that's something to do with the UrbanWire too. So we don't have to burden like everybody to come in, and we might do some more virtual shows too. So you know, if you don't want to, we'll talk about it offline, but we're gonna engage the audience more. I really like this format. I like the fact that we can see the clips and stuff like that in real time, and I think it's better than Blog Talk Radio. I still string the shows through them because they distribute my shows for me, but I'm not doing Blog Talk Radio. The quality's not good, but I'm not gonna get into that. But once again, check us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/UCOFW. Support the platform at $UrbanWire. I'm gonna try to get a Zelle account up and going, but I'm gonna work on that. I'm trying to think of what else we need to do. If you want to advertise with us, email me personally at seharris02@gmail.com. Trying to think. Join our Facebook group page, and I think that's about it. I mean, you guys have anything in closing before we go?
Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Yes.
In typical YouTube fashion.
Yes.
All
Hit
right.
that bell.
All right, guys. We will be back next month. And we will talk to you then.
Okay.
All right.
Good show, guys.
That was very good. Coming back. Oh, goodness.
Welcome to the Tea Podcast, bringing you the best in news, entertainment, celebrity gossip, social commentary, humor, and LGBTQ lifestyle. This podcast is part of the UrbanWire Media Network, where we shine the light on issues impacting the urban community. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher.
Yeah.